Welcome back to another episode of Picking Up the Pixels RPG Love. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Musum.
Hello.
Want to put a quick plug here that the Nymph and I recorded a TVGP spoiler cast for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If you wanted to go listen to that, it's on the main feed over at tvgp.tv. It is a very short jaunt at 3 hours long, and we sprinted through a lot of that game because that I think we were expecting that to be a pretty packed spoiler cast, and it turned out to be way more dense than we were expecting. So if you have beat Remake and Rebirth, and we kind of talk about everything Final Fantasy VII, so go check that out over there. Spoiler cast for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. All right, Musum, what have you been playing this past month?
So I've been playing a little bit of Final Fantasy Rebirth.
Okay.
I think I've reached a point where I got to take a break from it because it just isn't really what I'm looking for in a game right now with all its side quests. But
Sure.
I'm in Coral Prison, and I think the thing that broke me is I got a quest where it's that whatever that cult thing. They're like, go. Here's a piece of paper with 5 people's locations. Go find them, and then tell me what the truth is. And I look
Oh,
at the map and I realize the only quest icon on my actual map is for the guy that gave me the quest. And
yeah.
the overlay paper doesn't make sense with the rest of it. And I know I just need to Google it and play it.
Yep.
But the last time I opened the game, I couldn't find that guy again. And then I wound up in another, um, mini game thing. And I'm just, I think I need to do what you were telling me you did, where I just mainline the story, because I don't think I'm ever going to beat this if I keep doing these side quests.
That was around the point where I made that decision, which is just like there's another area with more side quests. Oh, and it's not an open world area. That's really rough. That was the exact mission where I'm like, okay, I'm not going to run around this town and talk to these 5 people to figure out who's telling the truth and who's lying. I just looked it up. I Googled it, and it was basically like, okay, if this person says this thing, they're lying, and you accuse this person, and then you just move on. Because it's like everybody, all of the 5 people, 4 of them will tell the truth, and 1 person will lie, and it's like, all right, if they tell this is truth, if they tell this is the lie, so you just kind of knock them down one by one. But yeah, I had the same criticism of the Corel prison that I had of the original game, which is kind of like, this could have been way shorter, and I don't care about the storyline stuff there, and then extending that portion, and adding a bunch of side stuff to it. Like, I'm okay to play Queen's Blood, of course, because Queen's Blood is great,
oh, yeah.
but like, oh, here's a Coliseum, and here's this other thing, and here's a bunch of other things, and do all these side quests for the Chocobo Greens or whatever. It's like, guys, I want to get back to Gold Saucer, because that place is cool as hell. Look at all those cool mini games. I don't want to be doing the Corel Prison stuff, because that's really rough.
Honestly, if this game was just the combat and dungeons, Queen's Blood, and maybe some of the Golden Saucer mini games, I think
Mm-hmm.
that would have been fine. Like, I think that would have been about right. And it's starting to feel like a little Dragon Age Inquisition, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of there's a lot of stuff to do. I don't really want to do it all. It seems like a little more beneficial here because you usually get a materia you don't have, but
True, right.
um, I haven't really been noticing summoning materias, and the materia prizes have turned into here's a 2-star one of one you already have, and it's like, well, I
Yeah, it's like,
already,
here's a 2-star cure, and it's like, yeah, I got a bunch of those. Like, everyone
yeah,
has a cure equipped. Like, what are you?
yeah,
What are we doing here, man? Yeah.
yeah. It's and I would have appreciated kind of more weapons. Feel like I'm not. I feel like I should have a new weapon with every area, and it doesn't really seem like it quite like
Hmm.
per character. And it seems like each area you get to, you get maybe 1 or 2 weapons total for 2
Yeah.
characters.
that was one of my criticisms of Remake as well, because I felt like Remake through the entirety of it, you had like 2 or 3 weapons, maybe at most per character. And it's a little bit better here. And I actually, there's a thing that I didn't realize for maybe about half of the game that, there are those purple chests in the game that always have a character's new weapon in it. And if you miss those in a dungeon, the next shop will sell those, so you kind of can't miss out on them. They'll always be available, which I think is... I wish more JRPGs did, because sometimes it's like, all right, here we go. You ran into a corridor in a dungeon, and there's 7 exits. I took the first one that led into a cutscene and a boss fight, and the dungeon got destroyed. So hopefully there was nothing cool in those other 6 pathways. So I like that, but I agree with you too that I wish there were more weapons, or at least it seemed like I kept getting weapons, especially for Cloud, and it was like, all right, here's a brand new weapon. It's got a ton of materia slots in it. Looks really great. It does 30 less damage than the one you have currently equipped, and the one you have equipped does like 120. So do you want to go down to 90? And it's like, no, that's a huge decrease. Like, why would I?
Yeah.
So I used like the second or third maybe sword for him all the way up until like the second to last chapter of the game, because there's just nothing else that seemed way better, which was a little bit odd.
Yeah, I've been kind of treating it like I don't know you learn the skills from the weapons, so
Right.
that is what has finally pushed me into it. Because like Tifa, like her second weapon was like, why would I ever use this?
Right.
Like, you guys put this in the wrong order.
Right.
But it's gosh, I really enjoy like the main story and all the extra character moments and everything like that, but I am just burnt the heck out on mini games. And I
It's so big. Like, this game is just so... There's just so much in here, and there's so much of so many things. It's just like I'm with you. Like, I like a lot of the dungeon stuff, and I like a lot of the story stuff, but by the time I got to the halfway point in the game, and they're like, all right, you're in the Nibelheim area, here's another giant open world area, and I was like, nope, I'm good. I'm just doing story stuff. Here we go. Thank goodness I'm playing on easy, because none of this is happening. And I've tried to go back to this and play it again, and I can't. I'm at the same point you are, personally, for JRPGs, of just like, I keep wanting to start up Final Fantasy 16, and just the thought of starting up another like multi-chapter action JRPG is just like, I can't do this. I'm in the middle of playing Unicorn Overload, which is Overlord, sorry, which is great, and I'm just like, I can't keep doing this. I gotta play. That's before Musa and I started recording this. I recommended Animal Well to him, which is a no combat puzzle focused Metroidvania that I played a couple hours of, and I really like. And I was like, that's kind of the palate cleanser I needed, which isn't really the thing to talk about on this show, but looking for something a little bit different here.
Yeah. Well, the other game I've been playing is Fallout 4.
Oh, nice.
And this is I'm playing it on Steam Deck. I was just kind of cheating and building stuff, and I'm finally kind of pursuing the different side quests and stories. So I went and found Kellogg and got his gun, and I have who do I have? I have Kate and Valentine and Piper and Ada and of course Mr. Gutsy, whatever the robot is from the first. Which
I think that's Mr. Gutsy.
Yeah, and I accidentally so Valentine. I keep there are a lot of weird kind of oddities in this, right? So I have a patch that lets me have dog meat with any of my other party members.
Oh, okay.
which I had a friend trying to tell me that there was a story quest with Valentine where you have to follow him. And that does happen, but like Dogmeat just kind of shows up and like he took him out of my party when we finished following him. So I had to go back to, the gas station
Right.
um, and uh, and pick him up again. But I accidentally sent, like I told Valentine to go somewhere, and I forgot that the next quest he is involved too. So instead of going the place I told him to, he went to Good Neighbor.
Oh.
Uh, but
Ah,
I figured
Fallout
that
5.
out in that one of the things I downloaded. I assume it's from one of the things I downloaded, but there's like a Vault Tech personnel console,
Mm.
and it has a VIP screen where it just shows all your companions, and you click on one, and it creates a quest to their current location.
Oh man,
Um,
that's super handy. Jeez.
yeah, it's they have some cool stuff in there. Like I downloaded a sim. I don't remember what it's called. I want to say Sim City, but it's like a settlement sim thing where it'll manage a lot of the stuff for you. And I haven't figured out the ins and outs of it, but I found a screen where it's like, answer these questions for how involved you want to be with how your settlements work at. And I
Oh
basically
wow.
put it on, please automate everything.
Right. I don't want to
Yeah.
do with any of this, please.
Yes. I
Yeah.
will. I will do the initial plant like 500 freaking guns around the
Right.
perimeter, but after that, you guys just do something else. And I have not seen the fruits of that yet, but I have programmed it. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
The I downloaded a mod that marks your power armors on the map,
Oh,
um,
nice.
which oddly enough, the recent upgrade patch Bethesda did reset that. Um,
Oh, hmm.
So I didn't have the map markers, but once I got in the power armor, it put them back on the map again.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't that bad, but it took me a few. Which settlement is this power armor in?
Right.
Test. Um, Let me think. What else? My friend recently told me a big spoiler because previously when I played this game, I made it to. Let me see. I'm gonna talk around most of the plot.
Hmm.
So I made it to the Institute, right? Like they
Oh,
talked
sure,
about.
right.
I kind of got there, was supremely disappointed, and then stopped playing the game at that point, if I'm being
Hmm.
honest.
Because that's your like
And
real big kind of story moment of like here's what's happening in the world, here's what's happening in the vault, for Fallout. I feel like that happens in a lot of Fallout games where it's like you need to have your big moment of like this is what the world really is. This is the truth behind the vaults and the vault experiments, and I think that was kind of the big moment for this one, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he told me another implied aspect about that from your character if you read a lot of the journal around it,
Mm.
which immediately made it way more interesting than just kind of your initial find there.
Mm.
So I may actually complete the story this time. We'll see.
Right.
I'm not sure if my attention will hold out. And it's already like, oh my gosh, game, how many quests can you just let me finish like half of these quests before you give me another one? How can you just
Right.
constantly give me more?
Right, let
Um,
me finish like one storyline, please.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just not probably going to happen because everywhere I go, I get another one. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go do this then. But it's been good. It's maybe I'll just talk about all the mods I keep getting.
I mean, so far they
uh,
sound really cool.
yeah, the uh, gosh, was it the settlement one? I think it was the Sim settlement one that came with it. Yes, it is right. So the Sim settlement one, you build a city manager desk, and
Okay.
you can cheat in there. You can do a number of things, but kind of the most valuable thing to me is they have a recalculate how much space you actually have in a settlement. Because when you're
Oh.
building a settlement, it has a yellow bar that fills up, and then you can't build anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So that is immediately appreciated because it recalculates it, and you're usually not full. It's usually less.
Mm.
Um, And then it has an increased settlement size by 25% button, which
Oh, wow.
um, does come with a big fat warning of this may glitch your game.
Right.
Um, but thing crashes on me every couple hours anyway. It's not that big a
Yeah, I
deal.
mean, it's still a Fallout game, so like you're kind of running at the red line most of the time anyway, so like that's
Yeah,
not uncommon.
yeah. I am playing on the original Steam Deck, which
Mm.
I guess if game news is to be believed, the new Steam Decks, the OLEDs are not working well with it, but mine
Oh,
works
okay.
better. Like it loads a little bit faster. You don't have the launcher on front anymore, which anything with a launcher is a little awkward on Steam Deck 'cause you got to use the
Yeah.
touch screen to do it. But um, and the game it honestly looks a little bit better.
Nice.
Still uses, I get maybe an hour of playtime on just the battery,
Sure.
um, which is kind of by far the worst playtime to battery on the Steam Deck I've encountered,
Yeah.
and I've not figured out how to. I've tried some online settings, and it has not worked for me for whatever reason.
Not the most optimized of engines, it seems, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, let's see. I feel like most of the other mods I downloaded are fairly boring. Like there's a better roads on your map one where
Mm.
it just makes the roads look better. Um, there's a no, what did I do? I always download the one that'll let me destroy even more stuff on the settlements to get rid of a lot of the debris that you normally can't.
Oh, okay.
Um, and infinite ammo for your buddies that you bring along.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah. Oh, right. And then the most cheatery cheater one, the uh, make all materials and weapons and armor weigh nothing.
Oh, there you go. I feel like a lot of people kind of poo-poo the like removing encumbrance thing. I like playing with encumbrance the first time, like kind of having the sort of traditional experience of having to balance all that stuff. But like if you want to play your first time with no encumbrance because it drives you crazy, or you're a pack rat like I am, or just this is the 50th time you're playing Fallout 4, like, yeah, man, make it all carry around 50 different leg armors on your back at the same time. Whatever. Who cares?
I mean, honestly, like Fallout 4 especially, like with the amount of crafting crap you have to do in this game,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
I I feel like their scale is off, or they should have come up with something else, or given you
Yeah. And all your
anything else.
settlement stuff, like, it's just, there's a ton
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna spend an hour looking for materials to build up my settlement. You kidding me?
Right.
Like, it's not why I'm playing this game.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, overall, I still really like this game. I love the power armors, and I, gosh, I bought a power armor. What are they called? I'm not gonna remember, right? So when you get power armor, you need like the skeleton part, and then you have the individual pieces you equip.
Oh,
But
sure.
you can't equip the individual pieces without the skeleton. So, um, one vendor was selling the skeleton, and I was wearing power armor. So then it warped it to somewhere I hadn't been yet. I had to
Fallout.
Google it. Yeah.
God.
Reddit saved me every single time I had an issue. And that one was there's a vendor, I forget it. It's a robot vendor in Good Neighbor that has it.
Mm.
Um,
I love Reddit for those of just like one other person on the Fallout subreddit asked this question of like, hey, I just bought this and it went somewhere, and someone's like, oh yeah, you just head over here and like talk to this vendor and then check a box next to them. It's just in there for some reason. It's like, oh dang, all right, cool, thank
yeah,
you.
yeah. I keep having a friend trying to talk me into playing 76, but I'm like, man, I don't want to pay a monthly fee because like the
Yeah.
76 monthly fee is tied to your like base storage. Like your base storage is limited unless you pay them the fee or something like
Oh
that.
sure. Is it free to play
Uh,
otherwise?
I don't know. I feel like well, I guess it would because I would just play it on Xbox, so you get the initial one. But
Oh sure.
they probably have some DLC or something that you're supposed to buy to see more of it. I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah, I
Like
keep,
games as service, yeah.
especially with the TV show that came out. I know a lot of people are hopping into 76 because it's kind of the most recent Fallout thing. And I know a lot of people that are just saying like it has a bit of a slow start, but once you get past the first hour or two, then it actually turns out to be a really really great game. And I'm like, man, yeah, probably I'd love to play that, but like I don't know if I can get into not even just the live service thing of like, do I have enough time to get into a Fallout game right now? Because
Yeah.
that's kind of a big prospect.
This one, like my understanding, this one even more than 4 is all about crafting too. Uh,
Oh, that makes
but
sense.
and you don't get a private server unless you pay them.
Oh,
So,
okay. Hmm.
uh, so like to me, that would be the thing to do is you get a private server, and I believe you can take your character in other servers and stuff too. But
Oh, okay.
and set up vending machines where people can come buy stuff from you. Like, it sounds like there's a lot of cool things in it.
Yeah.
I have acknowledged that my life is not in a place where I can play games as service game. Like
Right. Especially
those are
like
just
you need like a pausable game.
yeah. And
Yeah.
like the prospect of playing a Bethesda game without mods is also one I don't want to engage in.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a good point.
I mean, I guess I played a bit of Starfield. That oddly enough, playing Fallout 4 has made me think maybe I should just go back into Starfield and
Yeah.
actually finish that storyline out.
Yeah, did you ever finish that?
Mm-mm.
No, I
I,
didn't either.
no, yeah, I wanted to at least see what this in-game mechanic everyone talks about with the new game plus stuff.
Oh, sure.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do that sometime this summer. I, God, if I squint and think about Starfield, like part of me is like, oh yeah, get the spaceship, get the guys, go flying around. Like that sounds awesome, and
Mhm.
and I know that that game was just supremely disappointing in a lot of ways
Yeah.
for me. Uh,
They
but
have
I
been
don't know.
patching it, so
Yeah,
if they stick with it as long as they've stuck with some of their other stuff, maybe there'll be that patch. Is maybe like the cope in me of just like maybe there'll be that patch where it's just like, all right, now it's got some of the stuff that you wanted it to have, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm not sure.
at some point, they're going to enable mods, and then another
Right.
point, they're going to have a DLC that, historically, Bethesda's usually pretty good with DLCs, I feel like, or at least
Yeah,
all
that's
the,
true.
horse armor aside, most of
Right.
the most of the Elder Scrolls ones were pretty good. I feel like I heard positive things about most of the different Fallout ones.
Fallout
Um,
3's DLC was all really good.
hmm.
I
well,
played a
I
lot of
remember
those.
hearing like Fallout 4. I know had a lot of DLC, and I feel like the smaller ones I heard weren't as good, but the bigger ones were amazing.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know if I actually. Now that you mention that, I don't know if I played any of the Fallout 4 ones because I think they started out with either it started out with these or those were kind of the big ones where like here's a bunch more crafting stuff, here's the settlement stuff, and I'm like I don't want to do any settlement stuff. So the idea of you introducing more crafting and settlement stuff is like antithetic to how I want to play. I want the Pittsburgh DLC from Fallout 3. I want that to be in here. Like I want the big story dungeon one.
yeah, and I've heard I think Valentine has one, and it's
Oh,
supposed
that'd
to
be
be
cool.
really good. They have the one where you go to Nuka World or Raiderland or whatever it is.
Okay.
Um, and that one, it sounds like it's just kind of a fun, silly, fairly large one,
Mhm.
where you get to pretend to be a raider for a few hours.
That's fun.
The Mechanist one is one of the smaller ones that is crafting, but at the
Mhm.
end you get to craft robots.
Oh,
Um,
that's all right. I
can
like crafting
modify,
robots.
yeah, you can modify Mr. Gutsy, attach some different arm types and things.
Okay, that's
Uh,
pretty cool.
so there's some, but it is primarily kind of a crafting one.
Yeah.
And the story for the Mechanist is pretty thin. But And I don't remember what the other ones were. I think you're right. I think one of them was a crafting one, and they may have had like one more story one. But
Yeah, but you were right.
yeah,
Like they released a ton of stuff in that game.
yeah. Like I feel like Fallout 4 had to have had like aside from 76 that they are games of servicing.
Hmm.
Uh, I feel like Fallout 4 has the most DLC content out of all of them.
Yeah, because I think Fallout 3, it didn't have a lot, but each one that came out were big, kind of
Yeah,
bigger packages.
I feel like I always heard really positive things about the Fallout 3 one.
I liked a lot of them because a lot of them were like, I don't think I played all of them, but a lot of them were like, you go to this area and it takes you to an entirely separate, self-contained thing where you're gonna go do, dungeons and quests, and they're not the biggest, but they're kind of separated from the main game, and I liked that quite a bit.
Yeah, I I gotta tell you, I looked into like modding the different Fallouts for Steam Deck,
Mm.
and uh, it turns out for some reason I thought Nexus made a mod manager for Linux, and they do not.
Oh,
Uh,
huh.
and so I have all of the ways I have read to kind of enable that stuff sound like a giant pain in the butt because I really wanted to play New Vegas, and I spent like a couple hours researching that. And I'm like, this is I don't want
This
to
is
do this at
already too
all.
much work.
And I figure Fallout 3 is probably in a similar boat. Like they're
I
they're
would bet,
working on a
yeah.
new launcher, but it's I don't know, man. I hopefully that Fallout 3 remake they're working on will be in like the next year or something, or
Oh, I
maybe
didn't
it'll
know they
be
were working on that.
it was part of the I'm pretty sure that's right. Like when they had that court case that released they had to say what they were working on and they released
Oh,
that
okay.
list. I think a Fallout 3 remake and an Oblivion remake were on that list.
All right. That'd be cool. At least to just like slap a little bit of a new coat of paint on it and make it playable on modern stuff, cuz I think that's the biggest issue. Even people going back to play Fallout 1 and 2, which were great when they released, but quality of life wise are probably maybe a little bit rough nowadays.
Yeah.
Um, it's just sort of like you can probably buy like Fallout 1 and 2 on GOG and not have a problem running it, but how much of the quality of life stuff that is missing from there could you maybe put in and kind of treat like Risk of Rain Returns. They did a really cool job with that where they put it out, but if you wanted to just play the old version of the game, you just turn off all the new stuff. It's all kind of checkboxes and toggles. And if you turn off all that stuff, it's just the original game, but with controller support and stuff like that. It'd be curious to see if they do that with some of these games of just like, it's largely the same game before, but you have some optional quality of life stuff.
Yeah. I honestly like Fallout 3 is missing so much from like modern Elder Scrolls games. I wouldn't mind them doing a bit more because I think that
Hmm.
one like the companions didn't have side quests.
Oh, okay.
Like honestly, I wouldn't mind if they just like it ever works this way in game development. But if they could just let's just copy these files over and load it in the Fallout
Right,
4 engine and see what happens and
right.
kind of tweak it from there. But I don't know that I ever. I think New Vegas was the only Fallout I ever really finished. I mean, I guess I beat 1 and 2 by cheating with a whole lot.
Hmm.
Um,
Opening up the
that
terminal
was
and typing stuff.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
well. I think I downloaded like a trainer or something like that.
Oh, okay, sure.
Um, I mean, that was 25 years ago.
Yeah, those are definitely the eras of trainers where it's like, there's a little MIDI song playing, and there's a cool
Yeah,
animation, and I'm gonna click this button. I have infinite ammo and
yeah.
God mode and all that.
I would love for them to remake Fallout 1 and 2 and
Hmm.
put a metric ton of modern conveniences in there because those games are ridiculously hard. Uh,
Yes, they are very hard.
but Anywho, so that is all I have been playing. So, Boston, what's been
All
on
right.
your plate?
It was as we were talking about earlier, feeling kind of burnt out on RPGs and kind of games overall. I think that's the unfortunate side effect of the beginning of this year being so packed with big JRPGs kind of back to back. Like I had Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth back to back, which are both, 70, 80 hour. They're both incredible, but, after kind of doing those back to back, need something a little bit different. So I haven't been playing a ton of RPGs lately. Did play more Destiny 2, looking at some more of the Into the Light stuff, the kind of Destiny 2 celebration leading up to the final shape, the next big expansion here coming out in a month. We did the Whisper mission, which is the kind of Whisper of the Worm timed mission. They're bringing back two of the kind of fan favorite timed exotic missions. One being Whisper of the Worm, and then the other one being 0 Hour, which is the Outbreak Perfected exotic mission. That was not out yet. But they we were talking about here just a minute ago about kind of modernizing some video game stuff. It's really interesting because they have taken a different approach to both of these missions, where originally they were, you start the mission, you have 20 minutes to finish everything you want to do in the mission. When that 20 minutes runs out, it just kicks you back to orbit. You got to try again if you didn't finish it, which is fun. But if you're someone that just wants to go and get the weapon, because Whisper of the Worm and Outbreak Perfected are craftable now, if you just want to go get the weapon and get the crafting pattern and be done with it, people of different skill levels in Destiny 2 maybe weren't going to be able to get through that mission. And part of Bungie's, whether you agree with it or not, I like the tack they're taking, which is basically like, look, let's get more people more of this stuff. Like, this is a super cool exotic mission. This is a really cool weapon. Why don't we have the majority of people that can get it? And I like that approach more than, oh, well, you need to get good. You need to, like, you better strap on, like, your professional boots and be, like, a hardcore raider or whatever to get this done. So part of what they've done is there are two difficulties for this mission now. The Legend difficulty is kind of where you... it's the 20-minute one. It's where you get the weapons catalyst, you get all the crafting options, you do extra stuff to get a cool ship that looks neat. Like, it's the one where you do all the extra stuff. If you finish the normal version, it's 45 minutes, 40 or 45 minutes, one of those two. If you finish that, you get the crafting pattern and you get the exotic gun. And, like, that's, if you can't finish it in 45 minutes, that's a pretty considerable amount of time. Then it'll be easier to start again and have a lot more time once you kind of know your way through the maze that those exotic missions are. And I like that they've done both of those, because you have kind of the easier mode where you can take your time. People that have problems with platforming, which is the majority of Destiny players, myself included, you have plenty of time to make that happen. If you want to go do the super hard one where you're, like, really racing through it and you're fighting the harder versions of bosses, you have the other difficulty there. They've also done something that I have really appreciated them doing. I think they started this in the 0 Hour mission when it was originally released. It's essentially, whenever somebody gets through, like the first person gets through a difficult platforming section, if you have other parties of your or other people in your party that are lagging behind or having trouble making the jumps or whatever, there's always something to shoot or something to turn on that gives the players that are behind additional platforms to make the platforming easier. And I really appreciate that they're doing that. You don't have to use them if you don't want. If you want to like troll your friends and just be like, "Oh no, you gotta make the jump." Sorry, you can make them do that. Or if it's just like, "Yeah, man, this jumping part is really hard. One of us made it through. Flip the switch, and a bunch of other platforms show up." I really like that they're doing more of these optional difficulty things to make getting through it optionally easier, which I appreciate. They're also doing this thing that's out now that I will not be running at all just because of its nature, called the Pantheon, and it is a back-to-back raid boss, like boss rush essentially, where it started with 4 raid bosses in the first week, and your power level was 5 levels underneath where the bosses were, so it's a little bit harder. And then as the weeks go on, they add another boss every week. So first week was four bosses at -5 power. The next week, the current week we're in right now, is 5 bosses at -10 power. Next week will be 6 bosses at -15. And then the last one is pretty much like all of the big bosses at -20. Which is a huge deficit, will be incredibly difficult. But it's a cool thing to see, because it's not just these raid bosses back to back with no other mechanics, but they've been adding difficulty, they've been adding mechanics to these boss fights. So it's really intended for the people that have a raid group that know these encounters in and out, and they're excited for an additional challenge and additional difficulty that gets you a bit of an extra fun reward. So I hope they do more of that stuff in the game. That's unfortunately going away when Final Shape launches here in a month. But I really hope they do more of that stuff in the future, because it's nice to see. I want Bungie to focus more on enabling more people to play Destiny 2, because at the best of times, Destiny 2 can be completely inscrutable, and at the worst of times, it struggles with explaining how to play the game overall. And thankfully, they're doing a lot to mitigate that when the Final Shape launches. Like, if anyone hasn't seen, at the time of this recording, up until the Final Shape launches, pretty much every expansion except for the most recent one in Destiny 2 will be free for everybody, and all of the seasons that came out this year. So if you wanted to check out Destiny 2 and not just play the kind of thin slice of content the free-to-play version has, you can go get that. And then thankfully, once Final Shape launches, they're doing the thing that Hitman did, which is like, here's a pack that has everything. You want to get into Destiny 2 and you want to play everything, here it is. It doesn't have the most recent expansion, but it's got everything else you need. And thankfully, they are the big bonus that they're having when the Final Shape comes out is something they call party power, I think it's called. Essentially, like, if you were to hop back into Destiny 2 when Final Shape launches, I think your weapons and armor and everything would be at like power level 1600. And because I'm starting from the point that I'll be starting at, I'll be playing at like 1810, 1850, something around there. So the delta between our two power levels would be pretty severe. And getting into Destiny 2, one of the last things you want to tell your friends is like, all right, let's strap in. We're going to go farm for some guns. Let's do this activity until everybody's sick of it. What they're doing in Final Shape is, if you were to join my party, Musum, if I was at like 1810, your power level for that activity would be 1805. So just out of the gate, you and I could play the majority of, non-end game content together, which I think is a huge improvement over just like oh, you haven't played forever? Let's check your vault. And they actually are rolling back sunsetting because they were finding out that people that are coming back to play the game after a couple of years just have their vault and all of the weapons they have equipped, they're sunset, so they can't get past the light level that, like, you couldn't even play any content because everything you had was old and had been retired. So they're, removing that restriction at the same time as well. So I feel like they're making the right choices to keep the game healthy for the long term, as we're kind of wrapping up the first saga in Destiny here, which I think they really need to. So I think they're making the right choices. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping it works out. So, you look like you want to ask a question.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I just I was engaged. That sounds like a great it sounds like a great move. That is mind-blowing to me that they sunset so many weapons that if you hadn't played in a while, you could potentially have no plausible weapons to get your light level up with.
Yeah, it's a and I give them a lot of credit for coming out and saying, like, yeah, we made the wrong choice a long time ago. Like, we kind of took the nuclear option with trying to remove weapons that were a problem, and we should have just dealt with the weapons or the perks or whatever. And now we have, because a lot of the weapons that were a problem, they're bringing back for Into the Light. So they're like, we have dealt with those as an issue, and now we're kind of saying, well, if we sunset because of these weapons and we brought them back, then why are we still holding on to sunsetting? Like, there's no real reason for that to happen. So I'm hoping that for people that are interested in starting Destiny, I think the recommendation for a long time has sort of been, well, if you've got somebody that you can play with kind of constantly, then yeah, that will work. But, like, it's a little hard to get into at the moment. I'm hoping it helps a lot of those issues and those kind of growing pains. So fingers crossed. All right, that's all I've been playing this month. Let's talk about our releases for May 2024 real quick. First up, we have, it's not really an RPG, but it's kind of in the, pardon the pun, the orbit of the show here. Homeworld 3 comes out on PC May 13th, 2024 here, which I believe Homeworld 2 came out 20-something years ago, so it's been quite a while. This is a kind of space strategy game. This one's largely in 3D. And I liked Homeworld 1 and 2 way back when it came out. And I've heard pretty good things about Homeworld 3 here, so I might check this out, though I don't spend too much time sitting at my PC playing stuff.
So I remember Gearbox bought Homeworld a long time ago.
Right.
Around Borderlands 2 time, because I remember I went to the Borderlands 2 release party in Dallas. And then I came back, and then like a month later or something like that, they did a stream where they're like, we bought Homeworld, we're going to make another one. So that's like 12 years ago, man. I wonder if one they actually did. I bet they didn't. I don't know. Man, I feel like there's an interesting story to read there.
Yeah, I'm trying to look up who developed this. It is Blackbird Interactive. It's published by Gearbox. Blackbird did Heartspace Ship. Oh, it looks like they've done a bunch of porting stuff, but
well, that doesn't. Yeah. That's not necessarily bad.
No, yeah, I think it looks cool. I think it's interesting to see Homeworld come back after so long. Like, Homeworld 1 and 2 were so important for strategy on PC, especially, like, look at how many units you can fit on screen. Look at this. Look at space. Space looks so cool. It's like, yeah, those games were pretty cool. So we'll see. I hope it turns out well. I think it's been in early access for a little bit. But we'll see how that reviews when it comes out. Next game here is Paladins. Comes out on the PC on the 15th. This is a really cool multiplayer. It's 1 to 4 player tabletop RPG, essentially, where you and your friends play campaigns that look like they're restricted to about an hour. So it's not this thing where you're going to be playing for months and years and, eons on end. And it looks like it kind of, the board almost looks like Mario Party, where you're kind of moving from node to node with your party and making choices and doing RPG stuff and kind of doing interesting roles and things like that. I think that's a cool idea. I like the idea of you having this kind of lighter lifting like tabletop RPG thing. Is for people like me, it's like I'd love to play a tabletop thing, but the idea of like playing, months and months of campaigns or learning all of these rules to start a campaign or whatever, that's not super appealing for me. So yeah, this could be neat. That's called Paladins, coming out on PC on the 15th. Next up, we are talking about Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door, coming out on Switch on May 23rd. This is the remaster. I don't think it's a remake of Thousand-Year Door. Which did you ever play this one?
Is this the? I know I played a Paper Mario for a little bit, but I don't remember which one.
Yeah, I played some of the first one, and I liked that well enough. And like I played Super Mario RPG on the Super NES, of course, but like, I never played this one, and people really, really loved this one. And I just never got around to it for whatever reason. And I don't know, man. This game seems pretty cool. I'm very curious to hear what people's impressions are of this in remake form, because I'm assuming that they're gonna do. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to this because I feel like every time I see something about this game bubbling up, it's somebody being upset that they changed something super minor in this. The thing, it's the opposite of what we're seeing with Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance, where they just, if anyone listening to this hasn't watched the trailer the other day, where they're like, here's 50 brand new things in this game, and some of them are tiny and some of them are really big. And like everybody looking at that has been just like, oh my god, you improved this game so much. I feel like people are complaining about this game in kind of a way that I can't tell if it's like genuinely upset or not. So I'm curious to see what reviews are going to come out for this game, and just see like, is this kind of a good remake of this, or did they kind of mess up the entire thing? So we'll see. I would like to play this, but we'll have to see. Your dog is also very excited to go play, but probably not Paper Mario.
He might be.
Yeah, that's true. Not going to rule him out.
You in the Paper Mario repeat? No, maybe.
No. All right, well, last game here is Destiny 2, The Final Shape. Comes out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series consoles, and PC on June 4th. We're just talking about kind of some of that. And like I mentioned, like Bungie has really been out there saying like, hey, this is the end of the Destiny Light and Dark saga, the last 10 years of storytelling we've been doing. Destiny 2 isn't ending. Destiny isn't ending overall. So there's still more stuff coming out after that. Don't stop playing. We're not kind of putting a cap on Destiny here. So don't worry about that. So we'll see how that turns out. I'm assuming that I'll be talking about at least some part of this coming up next episode. So if you're interested in early thoughts about Final Shape, I'll be talking about that probably next month's episode. All right, but that's all the releases we got for this month, and that means that's the end of our episode. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. If you'd like to visit us, you can do so at pickingupthepixels.com. Don't forget you can get this show also on the main TVGP feed over at tvgp.tv. That gets you kind of all of the non-Patreon exclusive shows. If you want to go sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/E1M1. The $5 a month tier is recommended one over there. That gets you everything and support the show. That's per month, not per week, not per episode. So it's a very good deal. Musin, where can we find you online?
You can find me at my link tree. That's linktr.ee/John Musim. MUSIM, and you'll find all my relevant links there.
You can find all my links over at campsite.bio/Jansten, JANSTEN. That's got all my myriad projects I have involved myself in, and check all of those out over there. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. We'll see you all next month. Bye.
Bye.